Dr. Sarah Chun had seen thousands of children's drawings throughout her career as an elementary school psychologist, but nothing had prepared her for what 6-year-old Arian Blackwood placed on her desk that Tuesday morning. The crayon marks were precise, almost technical in their execution, far beyond what any child his age should be capable of producing. "Tell me about your picture, Arian," she said gently, studying the intricate spacecraft rendered in startling detail. Hull plating patterns, energy field indicators, even what appeared to be dimensional measurements filled the margins in tiny, careful handwriting. Arian shifted in his chair, his dark eyes distant. "The tall one with silver skin told me to draw it. He said it was important that someone remember." Sarah's breath caught. The craft matched perfectly with classified documents she'd glimpsed years ago during her brief stint as a military consultant. Files related to something called the Kestrel Ridge Incident. Files that officially didn't exist. "Who told you, sweetheart? Was this from a movie or—" "No." Arian's voice carried an odd certainty. "He visits sometimes. Says the government people forgot. On purpose. But someone needs to know the truth." Sarah's hands trembled as she photocopied the drawing. Within hours, her secure phone was ringing. The voice on the other end was Colonel Marcus Webb, a man she'd hoped never to hear from again. "Dr. Chun, we need to talk." "That drawing where? Did it come from?" "A 6-year-old student." "Marcus, how could he possibly know about—" "Burn the original." "Forget you saw it. That's an order." But Sarah couldn't forget. Neither could Arian, who arrived at school the next day with 3 more drawings. Alien figures with elongated limbs and luminescent markings. Communication devices that pulsed with geometric symbols, and most disturbing of all, detailed schematics of underground installations that supposedly didn't exist. By week's end, black SUVs were parked outside Lincoln Elementary. Men in dark suits questioned teachers, confiscated security footage, and attempted to interview Arian. But the boy had vanished, taken by his aunt Elena Vasquez in the middle of the night. Elena, a former intelligence operative turned journalist, had spent 20 years investigating the Kestrel Ridge cover-up. She knew exactly what those drawings meant, and why powerful people would kill to keep them secret. As she drove through the desert night with Arian sleeping in the back seat, her secure phone buzzed with a message from an encrypted number. "The child sees what we forgot. Others are coming. Trust no one in uniform." In the rearview mirror, headlights appeared, keeping pace, never gaining, never falling back. The hunt had begun. Arian stirred, his small voice cutting through the darkness. "Aunt Elena, the Silver Man says they're going to try to make everyone forget again. But this time, someone has to remember what comes next." Elena pressed the accelerator. Harder, her knuckles white against the steering wheel. In her mind, she could still see the classified files from 2003. First contact protocols, alien technology assessments, and most chilling of all, the termination orders for anyone who knew too much. The boy's gifts weren't just revealing the past. They were predicting a future that terrified even those who thought they controlled it. Asterisk. 3 days into their flight across the American Southwest, Elena pulled into the parking lot of a seemingly abandoned truck stop outside Roswell. The irony wasn't lost on her. Sometimes the best place to hide was in plain sight, even when dealing with alien conspiracies. "Stay close to me," she whispered to Arian as they walked toward the weathered building. The people we're meeting have been hiding for a very long time. Dr. James Morrison emerged from the shadows, a former NASA engineer whose career had been destroyed after he'd asked too many questions about recovered technology. Beside him stood Maria Santos, an ex-Air Force intelligence analyst whose official records had been scrubbed after the Kestrel Ridge incident. "So this is our little prophet," Morrison said, kneeling to Arian's level. "Son, I've spent 20 years trying to understand what happened in that desert. Maybe you can help fill in the gaps. Arian nodded solemnly, then pulled out a fresh drawing. This one showed underground tunnels stretching for miles, with massive chambers containing familiar spacecraft and rows of cylindrical containers. They kept some of them alive, Arian said quietly. The silver people. They're still down there, waiting. Maria's face went pale. Jesus Christ, that's level 7. How could he possibly know about level 7? Elena stepped forward, her voice urgent. What's level 7? The deep containment facility, Morrison explained, studying the drawing with growing alarm. 1,500 feet below Kestrel Ridge. Officially decommissioned in 2008, but ... He looked at the precise architectural details in Arian's sketch. These are areas I never saw, even with clearance. Arian began drawing again, his small hands moving with mechanical precision. This new image showed figures in hazmat suits surrounding a glowing chamber, while alien beings stood motionless in some kind of stasis field. They made a deal, the boy said, without looking up from his work. The government people and the silver ones. But someone broke the agreement. That's why they're angry now. Elena's secure phone buzzed. The message was brief but chilling. Webb's team found the truck stop. You have 15 minutes. We need to move, she announced, but Arian was already packing his drawings. The silver man says there's a safe place. A woman named Catherine lives in the mountains. She helped them once, before the bad thing happened. Morrison exchanged glances with Maria, Catherine Pierce, the xenobiologist. She disappeared right after Kestrel Ridge. Because she wouldn't stay quiet about the live specimens, Maria added grimly. If she's still alive, she's been off-grid for 20 years. They piled into Morrison's modified van, equipped with signal jammers and false registration plates. As they pulled away from the truck stop, military helicopters appeared on the horizon, searchlights cutting through the desert darkness. Arian pressed his face against the window, watching the aircraft with an expression far too knowing for his age. They think they can stop what's coming by stopping me. But the silver people aren't just talking to me anymore. What do you mean? Elena asked. Other children are starting to see them too. Lots of other children, all over the world. Elena's blood ran cold as she realized the implications. If Arian wasn't unique, if whatever force was communicating through him had expanded its reach, then the cover-up was about to become impossible to maintain. In the distance behind them, explosions lit up the truck stop as military teams discovered their abandoned hideout. But ahead, somewhere in the Colorado Rockies, a woman who'd been dead to the world for 2 decades might hold the key to understanding why a 6-year-old boy had become the conduit for humanity's most dangerous secret. The real question wasn't how Arian knew about the past. It was what the aliens were preparing him to reveal about the future. Asterisk. Catherine Pierce lived like a ghost among the aspens and pines of the Colorado Rockies, in a cabin that didn't exist on any map. For 23 years, she'd monitored deep space communications while hiding from the government that had tried to bury her along with the truth about Kestrel Ridge. When the modified van approached her hidden driveway, her early warning systems should have triggered immediately. Instead, her equipment remained silent, as if something wanted these particular visitors to reach her. Elena helped Arian out of the van, while Morrison and Maria scanned the forest for threats. The cabin appeared empty, but smoke rose from the chimney, and the door stood slightly ajar. Dr. Pierce? Elena called. We need your help. It's about Kestrel Ridge. A woman emerged from the shadows of the porch tall, weathered with prematurely gray hair and eyes that held decades of secrets. Catherine Pierce looked exactly like the classified photos, except for the strange silver device embedded in her left temple. I've been expecting you, Catherine said, her gaze fixed on Arian. though I thought you'd arrived 3 days ago. They told me the child was coming." Arian stepped forward without fear. "The Silver people said you'd understand. They said you were the only one who listened before." Catherine knelt down, studying the boy with scientific fascination. "May I see your drawings?" As Arian spread his artwork across the porch table, Catherine's expression shifted from curiosity to alarm. "These aren't just memories," she murmured. "These are blueprint specifications for technology that shouldn't exist yet." "What do you mean?" Elena asked. Catherine pointed to one of Arian's recent sketches, a complex diagram showing interconnected energy fields. "This is a dimensional bridge generator. The aliens showed me similar designs during the initial contact, but they said human science wouldn't be ready for another century." Morrison leaned closer, his engineering background allowing him to follow the technical details. "If this is accurate, we're looking at technology that could revolutionize space travel, energy production, or destroy everything," Catherine interrupted. "The reason for the cover-up wasn't just to hide first contact. It was to prevent this technology from falling into the wrong hands." Maria's radio crackled with encrypted chatter. "Webb's forces are mobilizing. They've got satellite locks on our position." But Catherine remained calm, her fingers tracing the silver device at her temple. "They won't find us. Not unless we want them to." She turned to Arian. "Show me the future drawings. The ones they're really afraid of." Arian hesitated, then pulled out a folder Elena hadn't seen before. The drawings inside were different, darker, showing massive ships descending from the sky, humans and aliens working together in what looked like preparation for war. "This happens if they keep lying," Arian said quietly. "The Silver people get tired of waiting. They come back with others, lots of others." Catherine studied the invasion scenarios with growing horror. "Dear God, these aren't threats. These are contingency plans." The aliens left a monitoring presence after Kestrel Ridge, but they're part of something larger, a galactic confederation that's been watching humanity's development. "And if we fail their tests?" Elena asked. "Then they treat us like any other hostile species," Catherine replied grimly. "Containment or elimination." The ground began to vibrate as military helicopters approached. But instead of panicking, Catherine activated her equipment. The silver device in her temple pulsed with light, and suddenly the forest filled with a low harmonic hum. 23 years ago, I accepted their communication implant to maintain contact," she explained as the approaching aircraft suddenly veered away, their pilots apparently losing all instrument readings. "They've been preparing me for this moment when their young messenger would need protection." Arian looked up at her with ancient eyes. "The Silver Man says the window is closing. The leaders on their homeworld are voting soon. About what to do with Earth. How long do we have?" Morrison asked. 37 days, Arian replied without hesitation. "Unless we can prove humans are ready to know the truth." "All of it." Catherine stood, her decision made. "Then it's time to break the silence. All of it. Every classified file, every buried report, every piece of technology they've hidden." She looked at Elena. "But first, we need to reach the other. Children, the ones who are starting to see. If Arian is right, there are only hope of convincing the Confederation that humanity deserves a chance." In the distance, military forces regrouped, unaware that their pursuit had just become secondary to a much larger threat, one that would arrive from the stars if humanity couldn't prove it was ready for the truth. Asterisk, within 72 hours of Catherine's decision to break the silence, everything changed. Using the alien communication network that had been dormant for over 2 decades, she sent out a signal that reached gifted children across the globe. In Tokyo, 8-year-old Kenji Nakamura suddenly began drawing detailed schematics of anti-gravity propulsion systems during his mathematics class. In São Paulo, 6-year-old Isabella Santos sketched alien cities with architectural designs that defied human understanding. In London, 9-year-old Aidan Murphy created precise star maps showing the location of the Alien Confederation's staging area. Elena coordinated from Catherine's hidden facility, while Morrison and Maria worked to establish secure communication channels with families of the affected children. But they weren't the only ones monitoring the situation. Colonel Webb's gone completely dark, Elena reported, studying intercepted military communications. His last transmission mentioned extreme containment protocols and acceptable losses. Catherine's expression hardened as her alien communication device pulsed with urgent signals. They're panicking. The children's abilities are accelerating beyond what even the aliens expected. Something's forcing their hand. Arian, who had been quietly drawing in the corner, suddenly looked up with fear in his eyes. The Silver Man says, "There's a problem. The bad government people aren't just trying to catch us anymore. They're going to hurt the other children to make the voices stop." Maria's secure channels erupted with emergency reports. Military teams were moving on the families of gifted children worldwide. In Mumbai, the Sharma family had gone into hiding after their daughter Priya had drawn classified missile defense layouts. In Berlin, 10-year-old Klaus Weber's family had been taken into protective custody after he'd sketched dimensional gateway mathematics. "We can't protect them all," Morrison said grimly, monitoring global news feeds that were beginning to report terrorist threats, requiring the detention of specific families. But Catherine had another plan. "We don't need to protect them. We need to amplify them." She led the group deeper into her facility, revealing a chamber filled with alien technology that had been slowly integrated with human systems over 2 decades. At the center stood a massive communication array that pulsed with the same silver energy as her implant. "This is a quantum consciousness network," she explained. "The aliens built it to gradually prepare humanity for broader contact. I've been maintaining it, waiting for the right moment." "What does it do?" Elena asked. "It connects all the children simultaneously. Instead of individual voices that can be silenced, they become a collective that can't be ignored." Arian approached the device with recognition. The silver people showed. "Me this in my dreams." "But they said it was dangerous for the children." Catherine nodded soberly. "The neural strain is enormous. And once activated, there's no going back. The children will be permanently changed, evolved into something between human and alien consciousness." Elena grabbed Catherine's arm. "You can't ask them to sacrifice their humanity." "We're not asking," Catherine replied, her implant flaring brighter. "They're volunteering. Listen." Through the communication array, voices began to emerge, children speaking in perfect unison across continents and languages. "We see what's coming. The scared people with guns want to make us forget, but forgetting won't stop what they started. The silver people are not our enemies. The real enemies are the ones who think war is better than truth." Morrison stared at the readings in amazement. "The signal strength is off the charts. Every major intelligence agency on the planet is receiving this. But more importantly, so was the general public. Social media platforms exploded with videos of children around the world drawing identical images, speaking the same prophetic words, displaying impossible knowledge about classified programs and alien technology. The cover-up was disintegrating in real time. Elena's phone rang. The caller ID showed Colonel Webb. "Dr. Chun, you have 10 minutes to shut down whatever you've activated before we're forced to consider nuclear options." "You can't nuke the truth, Marcus," Elena replied. "It's already out there." "We can nuke the source," Webb responded coldly. "Satellite imaging shows massive energy signatures at your location. Stand down or face the consequences." Catherine began entering commands into the alien array. "He's right about the nuclear option, but he doesn't understand what he'd be destroying." "What?" Do you mean? Maria asked. This isn't just a communication device. It's a bridge, a test. The Confederation has been waiting to see if humanity would choose truth over fear when faced with the ultimate revelation. Arian's drawing hand moved with superhuman speed, creating an image that made everyone in the room gasp. Massive alien vessels emerging from dimensional rifts, but instead of weapons, they carried construction equipment, medical supplies, and technology that could transform human civilization. First contact isn't an invasion, the boy said, his voice now carrying harmonics that resonated with the other children worldwide. It's a graduation ceremony, if we pass. Outside, the rumble of approaching aircraft grew louder. Webb's forces were closing in, but they were no longer the primary concern. In 36 hours, the Confederation's Council would vote on humanity's fate based on how the species handled its first real test of cosmic citizenship. The children held the key, but only if they could survive long enough to deliver their message. Asterisk. The world held its breath as military forces surrounded Catherine's facility, while millions of people watched live streams of gifted children across the globe, delivering an impossible message in perfect synchronization. In the underground chamber, Arian's drawings had evolved into something beyond human comprehension, blueprints for a shared future between species. 30 seconds to nuclear option. Colonel Webb's voice crackled through Elena's phone. I won't let alien contamination spread beyond this facility. Catherine's implant blazed with silver light as she interfaced directly with the quantum network. He doesn't understand. Destroying us won't stop what's already begun. The children had become something new. Above them, the mountain trembled as cruise missiles locked onto their position. But Arian remained calm, his small hand continuing to sketch what appeared to be star charts showing Earth's position relative to a vast galactic community. The scared people always choose violence, he said, his voice now carrying the wisdom of the connected children. But the silver people knew this would happen. They prepared for it. Elena grabbed Arian's shoulders. What do you mean? The test isn't whether humans accept aliens. It's whether humans will protect the future from their own fear. Suddenly, the facility's sensors detected massive objects decloak in Earth's upper atmosphere. Through the global network, the children's unified voice reached every communication device on the planet. People of Earth, your leaders chose fear over truth for 70 years, but your children chose differently. We are the bridge between what you were and what you can become. Morrison's equipment showed impossible readings as the alien vessels descended, not with weapons, but with technologies that neutralized every military system on Earth without harming a single person. Webb's missiles simply stopped functioning. His aircraft returned safely to base on autopilot. Around the world, weapons systems shut down while communication networks remained fully operational. On every screen globally, images appeared not of conquest, but of collaboration. Alien cities where multiple species worked together. Medical technologies that could cure every disease. Energy systems that could heal environmental damage. Transportation methods that could connect Earth to the stars. Catherine's eyes filled with tears as she realized the magnitude of what was happening. They're not here to save us or conquer us. They're here to see if we're ready to grow up. Through the network, the children's message continued. The choice has always been yours. Fear the unknown and remain alone, or embrace the truth and join the greater community. We are the children who remember what adults forgot, that different doesn't mean dangerous. Elena watched as Arian's final drawing revealed the truth about the Kestrel Ridge incident. It hadn't been first contact, it had been a test run, a small-scale evaluation of human readiness. The aliens had been observing humanity's response to the cover-up, measuring not just government reactions, but the species' capacity for truth, growth, and evolution. Colonel Webb's voice returned, but now it carried a different tone wonder instead of fear. My God, they've shut down every weapon on the base without harming anyone. They're not invading. They single quotes teaching. The Confederation Council has reached their decision. Catherine announced, her implant translating the alien communication. Humanity passes to the next phase. Conditional membership in the galactic community, with the children as ambassadors. The children worldwide spoke in unison one final time. We are no longer just human, and no longer just alien. We are what comes next. We are the bridge to tomorrow. As the alien vessels landed in major cities across Earth, they brought not conquest, but opportunity technologies, knowledge, and most importantly, proof that intelligence came in many forms throughout the universe. The governments that had spent decades hiding the truth now faced populations who had seen it with their own eyes. Elena looked at Arian, who was finally drawing simple pictures again, butterflies, rainbows, and spaceships flying together through star-filled skies. Are you still you? She asked gently. Arian smiled a perfectly normal 6-year-old smile. I'm me, plus more. We all are now. The silver people say that's how growing up is supposed to work. Catherine powered down the quantum array as it was no longer needed. The children would retain their enhanced abilities, serving as natural interpreters between species. Humanity's cosmic childhood had ended not with violence or surrender, but with the simple recognition that in a universe full of life, the greatest adventure was learning to be good neighbors. Outside, the first human-alien joint research facilities were already being planned. The age of secrets was over. The age of wonder had begun, and it had all started with a child's drawing that no one was supposed to see, except that someone was always meant to see it. The universe, it seemed, had a plan all along. In the end, Catherine wrote in her final report, the greatest alien invasion was not ships in the sky, but expanded consciousness in our children. They didn't change us by force. They changed us by showing us what we could become. The cosmic community welcomed Earth not as subjects, but as students ready for their next lesson in the grand university of existence. Asterisk.